Hello and welcome back to the NOTCAST. Happy Boxing Day, or happy whatever day it is, depending upon what day it is that you're watching this and what day you celebrate. You're probably not watching this on the day it's being recorded, on the grounds there is only one day a year that is Boxing Day, 26th of December. And I have normally talk about, well, music, sometimes films. Can you hear that? That's Tinker. He's a ickle little black short hair cat. He's about a year and a bit old, and that's him snoring. I don't know if you can hear that. If you can't, hang on a minute. Let's see. You all right? Yeah. No, he's still snoring. So there you go. So normally I talk about music, and some days I know what I'm talking about, and some days I definitely don't. Today is one of the days where I definitely don't know what I'm talking about. Since tomorrow, or more correctly next week, is 2025. That means it's the 30th anniversary of a number of records which I own. And I'll be talking about those. No surprises for guessing which ones those are. Of course, the Mission's Neverland. All right, maybe not. I might get to it in 2025. Actually, I'm not quite sure. There are some other bigger selling records from 1995. And I also have on here, to quote the now disgraced Clement Attlee, a bit of paper, which features a crib sheet for what I'm going to be talking about in future episodes. And let me just quickly check. Oh, that's a good one. That's good. This feels a bit like a NOTCAST tease, doesn't it? But I have something like 8 or 9 ones fully prepped and ready to go for whenever I feel like it. But I will, and that will be shortly. So today I have used an enlisted child slave labour, i.e. he isn't paid. I put them in the bag here, not my usual bag, on the grounds that I don't know where the other one is. And I will go in here and see what there is. So normally the rules are a CD, a DVD, a 12-inch or LP, a 7-inch, a book, and a Blu-ray. So let's go in and see what we can find on the grounds that I don't know what this is. Okay, that's Philip Glass's Songs from the Trilogy, which I haven't actually heard. Philip Glass, a modern classical composer, uses a lot of arpeggios and has recorded stuff you've definitely heard. That's the bit that I really hate, is when it starts to arpeggiate, as per Victor Lewis Smith's Tested on Humans for Irritancy album. This is a compilation of material from 3 of his works. One is Einstein on the Beach, the other one is Satyagara, and the other one is here we go, Akhenaten, I think is how it's pronounced. And this is recorded with, amongst other people, Philip Glass Ensemble, New York City Opera Orchestra, and Stuttgart State Opera Orchestra. Presumably Stuttgart State were chosen on the grounds that they were cheap and there were tax breaks to record there. Some bands record in places like Hungary, for example, because it's cheaper from a tax perspective to record an orchestra in Hungary or Stuttgart than anything else. Talking of which, this week is the 27th anniversary of my best and my favourite single scene character in any film, Dr. Kaufman from the James Bond film Tomorrow Never Dies. Believe me, Mr. Bond, I could shoot you from Stuttgart and create the desired effect. What a brilliant character he was, and he's only in the film for about 3 minutes. So instead, Songs from the Trilogy by Philip Glass. So I've no recollection of hearing this. I've definitely heard it because I play everything, but I have no recollection of hearing it. It's one I almost definitely bought as what I call a seat filler. So cheap in, let's say, a 4 for £10 kind of selection from an MVE or something like that in the basement downstairs. That is Songs from a Trilogy by Philip Glass. Worth listening to, but I don't know who it is. Right, let's go for the 7-inch. Let's work out what 7-inch this is. Pop Will Eat Itself, Wise Up Sucker. Okay, so I haven't talked about Pop Will Eat Itself yet on any of my episodes, and I should do, although I do have some controversial opinions about Pop Will Eat Itself, or at least a period of the band's existence. This is the 3rd single released from the album, their 2nd album. This is the day, this is the hour, this is this. Here is a signed 7-inch, signed in person at Rich Bitch Studios in 1993. So I had or more correctly, I gate crashed a rehearsal ahead of the Phoenix Festival show in July 1993 to see the band performing and recording 3 songs: RSVP, Famulus Horribilis, and Babylon, where I brought some of my material along, and it was signed by all of them. So signed by Graham, Clint, Adam, and Rich. Not signed by Fuzz, although Fuzz was in the band at the time. Fuzz wasn't in the band when they recorded Wise Up Sucker. This is a fantastic track. I absolutely love it. I think it's the only song I've seen Pop Believe Itself play at every show that I've seen them do. Actually, that's a shocker for you, isn't it? Yeah. And it's just a great track. Absolutely love it. So, in my mind, Pop Believe Itself are one of the most underrated bands in the history of mankind. They're the equivalent of the British Beastie Boys, that they use sampling technology to really push the envelope, and technology in terms of bringing forward and advancing rock music and turning it into something else. So the imposition, or the starting introduction of the sampler for their first album, well, second album, depending on your point of view, Go Box Frenzy, changed the band completely, moved them from what felt like a standard 4-piece rock outfit into something that was far, far more adventurous, far more experimental, and really utilised the technologies on the ground. There was no manual to tell you what to do with this stuff. There was also no one telling you what you could or couldn't do. I think Pop Believe Itself, had they come from Brooklyn and had a slightly different set of accents, would be lauded today as the British Beastie Boys. Certainly to me, as inventive, as exciting, if not more so, and more interesting than that band. Yeah, I said it, Beastie Boys fans. You're missing out. Listen to Pop Believe Itself. They're bloody brilliant. Wise Up Sucker has backing vocals by Twig the Wonder Kid, also known as Miles Hunt from the Wonder Stuff. This is just a great track, actually. A little bit goes down fantastically well live. And again, as I've said, this is the only song I've seen Pop Believe Itself perform at every show I've been to. And I've been seeing them for 33 years. My word, I feel quite old. I've seen them more than 33 times as well. B-side of this is called Orgy One Stimulator, which is a pun upon the title Orgone Simulator, which was a cover version that was on the Beaver Patrol single. Still wish they hadn't put that out as a single, because it has aged badly. But Wise Up Sucker, great song, fantastic guitar riff, got this lovely kind of lament about she loves me not, wise up sucker, so what you got? You know, the idea of going, well, I'm not quite sure about what's going on in the context of a relationship. Having a broken heart has never been so danceable. So there you go. Right, so here goes the LP. And I have, this band, the U2s. You may have heard of them. I definitely have. This is Angel of Harlem, the second single released from Rattle and Hum, which came out Christmas 1988, in the days when U2 had hits as opposed to chased hits or something. Angel of Harlem is an okay track. Not my favourite U2 single. Possibly my least favourite U2 single of the 80s, I think. Possibly is Angel of Harlem, because the risk is it's a song about something. And sometimes when you write songs about things, it's kind of like Iron Maiden. It removes all the personal, it removes all the meaningful. It then becomes a song about an object or a concept or an idea, as opposed to a song about an emotion or a feeling. And to me, great art communicates things in ways in which you've never seen them before, things in ways you've never thought about them before. Great art communicates a different angle on a reality that you're familiar with, and you go, I'd never seen that before. Whereas this song is about flying into New York on a winter's day, and it was cold and wet when I hit the ground. At JFK, I heard the sound of an Angel of Harlem, presumably Billie Holiday there, or whatever its name, something, and the Supremes, Billie Holiday and the Supremes, possibly. I don't remember all of the words for this. Now, if you two were playing it 8 feet in front of me, I would know every word. I'd have that down cold. But that's because muscle memory has taught me what comes next after, each lyric, what comes after every lyric after that. And I think I've seen them play Angel of Harlem live, probably at Barcelona in 2009 and a couple of other shows. Never been my favourite. As I said, probably my least favourite U2 single of the 80s. Which is surprising, actually, but it is true. This is backed with a song called A Room at the Heartbreak Hotel, which is magnificent. Should have been on the album. Rattle and Hum should have been split into 2 parts. Ditch the live stuff. Put that out, say, March 1988. Put the studio stuff out late 1988. Put Rattle and Hum as a film out late 1988. And then you've got a live album and a studio album and a spot on the album for A Room at the Heartbreak Hotel, which is one of my favourite songs of this. Actually, Room at the Heartbreak Hotel is one of my favourite U2 B-sides. Actually, I might do an episode about favourite U2 B-sides. I might do episodes about favourite bands, favourite A-sides, favourite B-sides, and rank like my favourite songs, that type of thing. I'll never run out of content. Although, to call what I do content, no, not good. Not good at all. I do not like that word because it isn't content, it's stuff. 12-inch of Angel of Harlem is backed with Love Rescue Me featuring Keith Richards on guitar, recorded at the Dominion Theatre on, and let me just check, it said Sunday the 16th of October 1988. I got that date wrong. I was thinking it was November the 24th. But since this single was released very quickly in, I think, December 1988, the window that you would have for things like test pressings has shrunk dramatically, so releases can come out more often. Okay, so this is... Oh, God, I wish it wasn't this. What could it be? Oh, only the authorised fan fiction that is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This is a terrible film. This is the worst Indiana Jones film by 1,000 million trillion miles. It's awful, and it is so close to being not awful, yet manages to fudge it at the last minute. I love lots of ideas in this film. The idea that Indy ages as a character to reflect the gap in time between making the movies, i.e. 19 years, between Last Crusades in 89 and Kingdom of Crystal Skull in 2008. Also, the plot, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, the film is now 16 years old. So frankly, it's on you if you haven't seen it. The plot involves UFOs and aliens. And I love the idea that it goes into that direction. It can recast the Russians as the bad guys instead of the Nazis. It does a lot of really good stuff. But what it does wrong, oh boy, it gets it wrong. So it introduces John Hurt as Oxley, another character that you've never seen before that somehow has a deep and long-standing historical connection to Indiana Jones, even though it's never been mentioned in any of the 3 previous films. What is going on? Obviously was designed to be Sean Connery's character, but Sean Connery had retired and therefore wasn't making any films. Otherwise, it would have been Indiana Jones Sr., Henry, or whatever his name was, as the character which became Oxley. I do like the fact Marion Ravenwood is back in this movie. Shia LaBeouf as Mutt. Oh my God, what a disastrous, colossal, stupid, ridiculous idea it is. Poochie died on his way to his home planet. Shia LaBeouf in this is like the Poochie of the Indiana Jones. He's a character nobody wanted, nobody liked, and nobody cared for, that miraculously gets killed off screen in a matter of seconds in the next movie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It is atrocious, the fact that Shia LaBeouf is in this, and it's just awful, awful, awful. I hate huge chunks of this film, and huge amounts of decisions that are made in this film, including, but not limited to, the fact that they decide to include bad line readings. There are better line readings in the trailer. You know, part-time, for example, is one of them. The fact is, they could have got Short Round and put Short Round as an adult into this character, bearing in mind he would have tracked and aged appropriately. Why didn't they do that? Get him back. You know, why did they have to have Oxley in here? Have somebody else. And what's his name? Oh God, the guy. I'm going to have to look up on here. Ray Winston. Ray Winston's character is okay, but really, another double agent. After Raiders of the Lost Ark had a double agent. After Last Crusade, Indy, you are terrible at choosing your co-pilots, and you should hang your head in veritable shame. Right, DVD. I unfortunately have had a little sneak preview of this because it was placed into it with the spine facing that way round. So it's Jerry Maguire, isn't it? I thought it was Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. Show me the money. Jerry Maguire is okay. absolutely thoroughly okay. I really enjoy the work of Cameron Crowe. He's made some good films. He's made some bad films. He's made some very, very interesting films, but he's never, ever phoned it in. He's always done his own thing, followed his own path, and come up with some really interesting ideas. So, Jerry Maguire is a film about a guy that loses his job. According to this, a top sports agent, long on ambition but short on scruples, after he suddenly and ceremoniously loses his job and his fiancée, Kelly Preston. Both his personal and professional lives hit an all-time low. The only two people who stand by Jerry are his sole client, Rod Tidwell, a second-ranked football player, and Dorothy Boyd, a single mother inspired by his zest for life. Apparently this is really good. I haven't seen this film in about 15 years. I need to see it again at some point. It's only 2 hours, 20 minutes. I could have not watched the Spice Diver cut of June yesterday and watched this instead, but I watched that. And I have very little to say about that because I don't really remember it. Right, book. I've mentioned this before, haven't I? The Keep by F. Paul Wilson. And I am repeating myself, so first and foremost, the rules of The Keep are very simple. Any book that has a map has to be unamazing. It's got a map, because if you can't have the map, you don't know where everything is, which means the rest of the book that you read doesn't make the slightest lick of sense. But this is the novelisation, or more correctly, the novel that inspired Michael Mann's 1983 classic, but long unavailable fantasy epic, The Keep. And I love that film because I have a soft spot for Nazis getting murdered by supernatural beings. I don't know why. Maybe it's something to do with Indiana Jones punching Nazis. I just don't like Nazis, and I never have done. I never will do. I don't get it. I just don't. I mean, sure, man. If you want to belong, just follow a football team, right? There's considerably less genocide in your average football team, so my opinion of certain current politicians are that yes, they are fascists in all but name, and we should not respect them or their opinions. The Keep is, as a novel, is a wider, richer, deeper experience than the film. It explores the reasoning behind the actions. In The Keep, the film, the actions of the Mulasar, the character who is the spirit, who is offing those horrible, nasty Nazis, is these motivations are unclear and unexplained. In this novel, they become very clear and they make a lot of sense. There's a lot of scenes and connective tissue that make it much richer. This is a very, very good film. And I think there's something to be said for the movie novelisation. Some of the best movie novelisations just fill in the gaps and add a degree of thought to a movie that perhaps otherwise you might have thought, that film doesn't have any thought in it. It doesn't have any degree of consideration. No one's really thought it through. And then you read things like this and you kind of go, oh, now the biting makes sense. It all makes sense. And so The Keep is, in my opinion, if you like the Michael Mann film of the same name, and if you don't, what is wrong with you? But if you like the film of the same name, this is absolutely essential reading to fully understand the story behind the rest of it. What I want to see, and we will never get to see it, is the full director's cut of The Keep. I have a deep fascination with films that have been ruined in the edit by meddling and incompetent studio executives, cutting The Keep down to something like 96 minutes from 2 hours. It guts the film. It doesn't make sense. It's suddenly as if I took out every third letter out of every word I was saying. That make a lot of rubbish. See, I've been taking letters out from the word to make what a load of rubbish. As it goes along, it's not as easy as it seems, but somehow you can vaguely make sense of it, but it doesn't make as much sense as if you go, what a load of rubbish, or whatever it is. But there we are. So that is my selection. Nice and short and sweet. 20 quick minutes. I'll just have a quick look in there. Hang on a second. And thanks to the miracle of unpaid labour, I have now selected another book, or more correctly, had another book selected for me. Gremlins, the film novelisation. This one is written by George Gipe, who also wrote, I think, Back to the Future and possibly Ghostbusters 2. This is a great movie novelisation. So when I was talking about movie novelisations that expanded upon films, this does the same thing. I love movie novelisations, and I recently bought a lot of them. Treated myself last year to about 50 or 60 movie novelisations that I used to have as a kid. And so this is one of them. Again, I haven't read this for a long time, but it does have, and if I remember, it's chapter 12 or chapter 11, my favourite chapter of all time in the book. Chapter 11, just 2 words: Pete forgot. Sometimes you've just got to be economical and to the point, and that's what you have with this. Yes, almost, because the movie novel is a dying art form. Doesn't exist in any traditional form anymore. You can occasionally pick up extra bits for them, but they don't tend to happen too often. So I am going to just wrap up and thank you for watching 20 minutes of me talking about absolutely nothing of any importance, because sometimes that's what you've got to do. That's my selection. What's in the box? Wow, if I told you what was in the box in the film, you'd think less of me. You might report me to the authorities. Personally, I don't think it's Gwyneth Paltrow. I think it's a part of Gwyneth Paltrow, stuffed in another part of Gwyneth Paltrow. And that's going to give you some horrible nighttime thoughts, isn't it? Sweet dreams, loves. And I will see you all some other time. Me and, to quote The National, my new order t-shirts are going to have a Boxing Day evening watching television, because that's how we live. But I still couldn't say with precision what it's all about. The Meaning of Love by Depeche Mode, another band. Christ, is there any bits of pop culture I don't know? Possibly, but I do know that everything that I learned about history, I learned from Iron Maiden. And that gives you a clue to an upcoming episode when I give you a piece of my mind. Right, see you all later. Bye-bye.